Chào mừng quý vị đến với chương trình Những phát biểu nổi bật trong ngày. Chương trình cập nhật những gì các nhà lãnh đạo thế giới đã nói liên quan đến tình hình chiến sự tại Trung Đông, cuộc xung đột Ukraine cùng với các diễn biến xã hội đáng lưu ý khác. Trong chương trình hôm nay, quan chức Hamas cho biết phái đoàn Hamas tới CAIRO đàm phán lệnh ngừng bắn. Ngoại trưởng Mỹ nhận định phản ứng của Hamas tạo không gian cho một thỏa thuận ngừng bắn. Trong khi đó, Thủ tướng Israel gọi đề xuất ngừng bắn của Hamas là ảo tưởng. Liên quan đến xung đột Đông Âu, Nga và Mỹ có màn đấu khẩu gay gắt tại Liên Hợp Quốc. Khi các thế lực đối đầu, Tổng thư ký Liên Hợp Quốc cảnh báo thế giới đang bước vào thời kỳ đại hỗn loạn. Mời quý vị theo dõi ngay sau đây.
بالنسبة للوفد يعني كما أشرت نحن قدمنا تصورا استلمه الأشقاء في قطر ومصر وهناك اتفاق على أن يتواجد وفد في القاهرة سيغادر إلى القاهرة غدا. هذا الوفد سيتابع الحوار حول الإجراءات بهذا الخصوص وما قدم في ورقة الحركة وربما ما سيأتي من ردود على هذه الورقة. أما بالنسبة لتصريحات نتنياهو فنحن نعتقد أنه يحاول هنا أن يتعالى على أزمته. هو يعاني من أزمة داخل حكومته ويعاني من أزمة في أداء جيشه ويعاني من أزمة في شارعه ويحاول أن يعبر خلاف ذلك. على أي الأحوال إصراره على مواصلة العدوان يؤكد بشكل قاطع أن الهدف من العدوان على غزة هو عملية إبادة جماعية ضد الشعب الفلسطيني. كما ندعو مجاهدين من كل فصائل المقاومة في كتائب القسام وسرايا القدس وكل الأجنحة العسكرية المجاهدة إلى الاستمرار في المواجهة والتزام الحيطة والحذر من غدر هذا الاحتلال، والحذر بشكل خاص من غدره في ربع الساعة الأخيرة في هذه المواجهة، لا سيما ونحن نسعى لإنهاء هذا العدوان بالصورة التي تليق بتضحيات شعبنا ومقاومته.
הערב באתי להגיד לכם דבר אחד. אנחנו בדרך לניצחון מוחלט. הניצחון הוא בהישג יד. זה לא עניין של שנים או עשרות שנים, זה עניין של חודשים. ואני מבקש שוב להדגיש, אין פתרון אחר זולת ניצחון מוחלט. אם החמאס ישרוד בעזה, זאת רק שאלה של זמן עד הטבח הבא. וציר הרשע של איראן ושלוחותיה ימשיך במסע ההרג והתוקפנות שלו באין מפריע. רק ניצחון מוחלט יאפשר לנו להשיב את הביטחון לישראל, הן לצפון והן לדרום. בתוך 4 חודשים צה"ל הרג ופצע כ-20,000 מחבלים, יותר ממחצית הכוח הלוחם של החמאס. לוחמינו הגיבורים נלחמים כעת בח'אן יונס, המעוז העיקרי של החמאס. הנחינו את צה"ל להיערך לפעול גם ברפיח ובשני מחנות המרכז, המעוזים האחרונים שנותרו לחמאס.
We had an opportunity today to discuss with the Israeli government the response that Hamas sent last night to the proposal that the United States, Qatar, and Egypt had put together to bring the remaining hostages home and extend the humanitarian pause. What I can tell you about these discussions is that while there are some clear non-starters in Hamas's response, we do think it creates space for agreement to be reached. And we will work at that relentlessly until we get there.
Щойно підписав указ, який розпочинає створення у наших силах оборони окремого роду сил безпілотних систем. І це не питання майбутнього, це те, що повинно дати цілком конкретний результат вже найближчим часом. Україна реально змінила безпекову ситуацію в Чорному морі завдяки дронам. Відбиття штурмів на землі – це багато в чому робота саме дронів. Масштабне знищення окупантів та їхньої техніки – це також дрони. Зараз перелік завдань чіткий. Спеціальні штатні посади під роботу з дронами, спеціальні підрозділи, ефективне тренування, систематизація досвіду, постійне масштабування виробництв і залучення найкращих ідей. найкращих спеціалістів у цю сферу. Це завдання і для армії, і для Міністерства оборони та уряду загалом. В структурі Збройних сил будуть створені сили безпілотних систем. Відповідні пропозиції будуть внесені на розгляд РНБО. Продовжуємо перезавантаження державної системи, тих її елементів, які потрібні, щоб Україна досягла своїх цілей.
Сегодня у нас имеются неопровержимые доказательства того, что для нанесения удара был использован ЗРК «Патриот», что не оставляет сомнений в том, что Вашингтон является прямым соучастником и этого преступления.
We have seen the news reports of a strike hitting a bakery in Russia-occupied eastern Ukraine with at least 28 killed on February 3. While we are unable to independently verify that information, the United States laments all civilian casualties and expresses its sincerest condolences to the families of any civilians killed. The unfortunate reality is Russia does not allow media freedom or independent reporting, so such claims are difficult to confirm. Though there is much we don't know, we do know this. The Kremlin bears full responsibility for the unconscionable death and destruction brought about as a consequence of Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine in violation of the UN Charter. Russian forces invaded a peaceful neighbor and continue their relentless attacks against Ukraine. We also know that attacks targeting civilians and civilian objects are violations of international humanitarian law. We again call for the protection of all civilians on all sides of every conflict. All parties to a conflict must take feasible precautions to minimize civilian harm. In contrast to Russia's lack of transparency and contempt for international law, the government of Ukraine has demonstrated a commitment to respect its obligations under international humanitarian law and to fully investigate any allegations of violations or abuses committed by its forces. To date, Russia has launched DPRK-supplied ballistic missiles against Ukraine on at least 9 occasions. Russia and the DPRK must be held accountable for their actions, which undermine long-standing obligations under UN Security Council resolution. These unlawful arms transfers and potential technology transfers from Russia to the DPRK undermine regional stability and the global non-proliferation regime, as well as the Security Council's credibility. To be clear, Russia is the only aggressor in this war and the only one that could end this war today.
This meeting, despite Russia's intentions to misuse the Security Council platform for disseminating fakes, provides us with a good opportunity to remind that the Ukrainian city of Lysychansk, Lugansk region, has been under Russian occupation since July 2022 and awaits its liberation. As it was with many other Ukrainian cities and villages, the Russian assault on Lysychansk was marked with horrendous war crimes and crimes against humanity.
United Nations Security Council, the primary platform for questions of global peace, is deadlocked by geopolitical fissures. This is not the first time the Council has been divided, but it is the worst. Today's dysfunction is deeper and more dangerous. During the Cold War, well-established mechanisms helped manage superpower relations. In today's multipolar world, such mechanisms are missing. And so our world is entering in an age of chaos. And we are seeing the result, a dangerous, unpredictable free-for-all with total impunity. The turbulence of our times, there are reasons for hope. Our organization was founded on the pursuit of peace. Peace is our raison d'être. Yet, as I scan the landscape of today's world, the one thing missing most dramatically is peace. And by that I mean peace in all its dimensions. As conflicts rage and geopolitical divisions grow, peace in our world is threatened. As polarization deepens and human rights are trampled, peace within communities is undermined. As inequalities explode, peace with justice is shattered. And as we continue our addiction to fossil fuels, we make a mockery of any notion of peace with nature. We need to strengthen and renew global peace and security frameworks to deal with the complexities of today's multipolar world. And that is the rationale of our new agenda for peace. First and foremost, the United Nations Security Council must be able to take decisions and implement them. And it must become more representative. It is totally unacceptable that the African continent is still waiting for a permanent seat. And the Council's working message must also be updated so that it can make progress even when members are sharply divided. We must also make peace with the planet. Humanity has waged a war we can only lose, our war with nature. It is a crazy fight to pick. We are detonating systems that sustain us, spewing out emissions causing our climate to implode, poisoning land, sea and air with pollution, and decimating biodiversity, causing ecosystems to collapse. We have many important milestones, including October's UN Biodiversity Conference, November's COP29, and December's Conference on the UN Convention to combat desertification. Excellencies, the climate crisis remains the defining challenge of our time. And the coming years will largely determine whether we can limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. To stay within that limit, we must cut emissions 45% by 2030 compared with 2010 levels. And we need emissions to have peaked by 2025.
There's so many friends here that if I were to acknowledge everyone, we'd be here till next Black History Month. But look, folks, we will be back here next year. This community is the reason why I'm standing here. This community. And special thanks to members of our cabinet and our military. I promised an administration that would look like America. And I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in all American history. My friends, we face a moment of real choosing. And I mean this sincerely, it's not hyperbole. In this moment, may we choose to be the light and make real the promise of America for all Americans. May we make clear that in America, we still believe in honesty, decency, dignity, respect, where we leave no one behind, where everyone deserves a shot, where we give hate no safe harbor. May we remember what our late friend John Lewis would say. He said, democracy is not a state, it's an act. Democracy is not a state, it's an act. During this Black History Month and each day we feel the grace of God, let's act. Let us act in light and truth and freedom. The power really is in our hands. It's not hyperbole, it's in our hands.